And if you're just now coming in, we welcome you. This is a teach-in that's been organized by Beacon Hill Black Alliance for Human Rights to speak about the history of this relic, which we believe does not belong in this community, which should have never been placed in this community and needs to be removed. But it's up to us, the people, to make the demand of elected officials to remove this relic. Next, you're going to hear from Dr. Elizabeth Burbridge, and Dr. Burbridge is of Woodward Academy. Dr. Burbridge, please join us.
Thank you. We're good with the sound? Yes.
Just come in close, Dr. Burbridge.
Hi, I am Elizabeth Burbridge. I teach at Woodward Academy. I teach U.S. history, I teach modern world, and I teach our capstone class on multicultural, ethnic, and diversity studies. And I am here speaking today as a member of the Beacon Hill Alliance on who were the United Daughters of the Confederacy. So after the Civil War in many southern towns, auxiliary groups were created by women to bury their Confederate dead, to support the Confederate widows, to support Confederate veterans. Within a generation or two, though, that support largely shifted to a defense of, a creation of, perpetuation of, and defense of the lost cause narrative. This included two things: memorial building and curriculum development, which sounds very modern, but they already had it on in their horizons. So the lost cause narrative is the idea that the Civil War was not fought over slavery, but was fought over defending the chivalrous and honorable Southern way of life from the North. Even though within each secession document of each state as they left the Union, even though within the cornerstone speech, the leaders of the Confederacy themselves stated that it was adamantly over slavery, the lost cause narrative changed that. Now, these auxiliary groups, these women's auxiliary groups, in 1894 in Nashville, Tennessee, organized and became the United Daughters of the Confederacy. There were two leaders of this group. They were co-founders. One had founded from Georgia and another from Tennessee. And I want to read a quote from one of the founders towards the end of her life after World War I. Quote, "It is my earnest prayer that it, the United Daughters of the Confederacy, may continue to be the crowning glory of Southern womanhood, to revere the memory of those heroes in gray, and to honor that unswerving devotion to principle which has made the Confederate soldier the most majestic figure in the pages of history." And that is from Caroline Merriweather Goodlett, again, a letter written but published posthumously. So as I said, they paid attention to memorializing the Confederacy, and we well know that. We've had a Confederate War Memorial that was thankfully taken down, but we also all live in the shadow of Stone Mountain, which was created by, developed by, and led by the United Daughters of Confederacy. However, it may seem shocking, but their efforts and curriculum were much farther reaching than even that. So the lost cause narrative was embraced multiple times. The first official one that we have records of, in 1913, the president of the UDC, Laura Martin Rose, published a book, The Ku Klux Klan, or the Invisible Empire, which alleged that the Klan had rescued the South from carpetbagger racial violence. It was published near the height of their Confederate statue, and this is 1913. Again, our memorial that was taken down was 1908, 2 years after the Atlanta massacre, which we usually refer to as the Atlanta race riot. This book actually, so the Ku Klux Klan, or the Invisible Empire, with the influence of the UDC, became a supplementary reader for Southern children in school. Then, when the UDC was incorporated in 1919, they included multiple goals. Point 3 was, quote, "to collect and preserve the material for a truthful history of the war between the states." Truthful to whom? Truthful to the lost cause mythology. And point 6, to assist descendants of worthy Confederates in securing proper education. Again, an education which promotes the lost cause narrative, which promotes the idea that their worthy Confederate ancestors were fighting for their honorable rights and not to keep promotion of enslaved people of African descent. So here we are discussing the United Daughters of the Confederacy, largely because in that same year, the Historian General of the United Daughters of Confederacy, Mildred Rutherford, wrote a manual called The Measuring Rod to Test Textbooks and Reference Books. This was used by Southern states to determine whether or not they could use their textbooks well into the Jim Crow South. It had to promote an idea of the benevolent slave master, an idea of the happy enslaved person, an idea that the North was overreaching. And if anyone is a reader of Michael Harriot on the Route, we know that well into the 1990s, American textbooks, even outside the South, still promoted this as a nuanced way of viewing the Civil War. That there can be both sides, and this is one side that many still cover. Along with this was promoted along with the United Confederate Veterans and the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And now I want to just switch quickly to another idea, because we're talking about curriculum and history, and our students, 3 of whom are mine, 3 of my children are in the Decatur Public School District, 1 at Winona Park, 1 at Fave, 1 at Renfro. And we have within here a local story that we could be examining, the Mary Gay House, which stands by St. Thomas More Church. Mary Gay was a devoted member of the United Daughters of Confederacy. During the Civil War, she spied for the Confederacy and brought them support. She then later wrote a book about living in Dixie during the war years that was used by Margaret Mitchell as part of her source material. We have an opportunity here within Decatur to address all of this history, our local history, our national history, and I hope we do.